Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, I must begin by apologising for yesterday. I only managed to get 5 out instead of the usual 10. Normally it's 1 an hour, 9 through to 6 o'clock. But unfortunately, I couldn't because of outside forces. I'm not going to do a Michael Matheson here, but I am blaming someone else. It was all my wife's fault. In a good way. She had a day off work. It doesn't happen very often. So I decided to cut the day short, and we went off and did a few things and have a bit of fun, basically, which it doesn't happen often, like I say, because getting time off her is quite difficult. So, we did that. And so, that's why I was sort of cut down yesterday to only half the normal amount. However, we're back to normal today. She's had to go trudging off to the office, and so I'm sitting here with you good people, and we will pump out the news, and we will look at the truth, and we will make sure that all the stupidity, ignorance, hate, incompetence, criminality and corruption is exposed and promulgated and broadcast, and so everyone becomes aware. So thank you for putting up with that yesterday. Back to normal today. And we're going to start today with 2 seats and the costs of going to Dubai and the revelation of who paid for her. Let's have a look and see why, finally, Susan Aitkin's truth comes out and is worse than you think. Here goes. SNP Glasgow Council leader Susan 2 Seats Aitkin's lavish Dubai trip cost hard-pressed taxpayers thousands. But not, it seems, for her. She had her ticket paid for, and not by people who are good. While the Nationalist Council leader's trip to the United Arab Emirates was paid for by Bloomberg Philanthropies, hard-pressed Glaswegians footed the bill for 2 other Glasgow City Council officials to also head out to the climate summit. So she had this trip paid for by an external lobbying group, the Bloomberg lot, which are as woke as hell, and they're part of the sort of WEF and all that. They hide all these things behind shell companies and different names and this, that and the other. But it's a WEF organisation. So she is taking the shilling from the WEF. She's screwing over the taxpayer because she couldn't go alone and had to buy 4 seats because 2 people came with her. And those 2 seats for the others were paid for by the taxpayer. And it's thousands of pounds. They weren't invited. They had no function. They went simply because she wanted to go. Now, on a side note, I will put there that as this was a trip that was outside her normal job responsibilities, for which she had no role, for which she was not invited but decided to go anyway, then I would suggest that the cost of that trip be treated as a benefit in kind for the purposes of a holiday, and that she is taxed appropriately on it. But I bet that won't happen. I bet there will be no taxation on that as a benefit in kind. That'll just be taken. But, it's what's going to happen, and she'll get away with it. If I was in charge of the tax office, I wouldn't let her out of principle. But, hey, I'm not. Anyway, Susan Aitkin's taxpayer trip to Dubai cost thousands of pounds, as she was accompanied on the junket by 2 Glasgow City Council officials. The SNP Council leader appearance at COP28 was criticised when it was announced at the time she had no formal role there. Literally, there was nothing there for her to do. She flew, she turned up, she went, oh, look at me, I'm important, I'm representing Glasgow. Why? Glasgow is not a nation state. It's in a state. But, she wasn't doing her day job. She was busy off having fun and getting some terrible, terrible people to pay for it, but also dragging out other people away from their roles at the same time and expecting the people of Glasgow to pay for it. Is it any wonder Glasgow is in the shit state it's in when this is where the money is being spent? She did host COP26 in Glasgow, and she went out to Egypt the following year to pass over the torch to the new host city. But once again, she flew out to the climate summit as it was held in the United Arab Emirates. And you have to wonder why that part of the world is being hosting climate summits when these oil-rich Arab states are the worst polluters. Well, China's the worst polluter, but they're responsible because they're the ones digging the oil out of the ground, aren't they? Anyway, the Nationalist councillor left behind Scotland's biggest city in November at the time when there were complaints being made about rubbish piling up in the streets, the rat infestations. Rubbish piling up and rat infestations. They obviously mean, in the streets of Glasgow, but it could equally be applied, that saying, to the City Hall because it's filled with rats and rubbish. Anyway, her local authority also needs to consider budget cuts and potential service closures for the upcoming financial year. And yet, they found the money for this junket where, let me tell you, much would have been eaten and much would have been drunk. And it was all done very much at taxpayers' expense. It can be revealed that the hard-pressed Glaswegians paid out £3,600 for the trip to Dubai, although this cost was only for 2 officials who accompanied her. The Freedom of Information request revealed that Bloomberg Philanthropies footed the bill for Miss Aitkin's flights and accommodation. Why? Why is she taking money from a WEF organisation? What are they wanting her to do in return? What's the agreement? Because these people don't just pay for holidays. They want something in return. And you can guarantee if they're having to do this with an official to basically bribe this official, then what it is can't be good. Because if it was good, they'd say, we'll do this. And let everyone know. But they're having to do it sneakily, so it can't be good. So is this what? The pushing of the 15-minute ghettos? Who knows? Anyway, the true cost of the 2 council employees who travelled with her, with the Nationalist local authority, stumping up £1,838.80 in flights and £1,793.93 in accommodation for them. It was claimed they had their own business at the climate summit and were not just there as the councillor's entourage. What business? What possible business does a local council officer have going to the United Arab Emirates, to Dubai, for a world climate change? What business do they have? They have no business. The only business they have is staying in Glasgow and doing their damn jobs. Because it appears that no one in Glasgow is doing their damn job. That's why the whole city is crashing and burning. Anyway, the Scottish Tories blasted a significant chunk paid out for the trip, with Glasgow suffering a litany of issues, including dozens of shops closing down and cuts to museum services. Local Scottish Conservative MSP Annie Wells told the Scottish Daily Express, hard-pressed Glaswegians will question how on earth the City Council can justify these lavish expenses. Well, of course it can't justify them, so it's going to ignore them. She said at a time when frontline services across Glasgow are being cut to the bone due to savage SNP cuts, there's simply no justification for the council leader to have had a taxpayer-paid entourage alongside her in Dubai. And she's absolutely right. There's no reason for it except that she wants to feel important and she enjoys the fun and palaver of sitting there and quaffing the Greg's caviar sausage roll and drinking her champagne at 30,000 feet, paid for by a woke, hard-left, WEF-backed organisation that doesn't have the interests of the people at heart, but only the interests of the elite who are trying to force us to eat our insect burgers while they have the finest fillet steaks. She's an enemy of the people, but the people are too stupid, and that's why she can get in. Because the SNP, the average SNP voter, is too stupid to see through these people, and they're voting for their own destruction. It really literally is turkeys voting for Christmas. Coming up. Do you know, even when presented with truth, even when presented with the bills, even when told that this woman is actively working against them, the idiots of Glasgow who think that the SNP are representing them will still vote for her. It's astonishing, isn't it? How can you sit there, know the truth, know what she's doing, and still vote for her? It's almost as though you are that stupid. You don't want a future. You want to live in a shithole. You want your kids to grow up in a dangerous area. You want your kids to grow up with no education. No opportunities. No freedoms. No rights. And if you don't stand up, if our generation does not stand up, the next generation won't be allowed to. Stop pandering to these WEF lackeys and puppets. like Susan Two Seats Aitkin. Unbelievable that she's still there. She needs to go. She needs to be voted out, and she needs to have that sanctimonious, smug, full chopped grin wiped straight off her fat face. But it won't happen, will it? Because the SNP voter will go, yeah, I'm going to vote for her. Because they're all dim. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video, and I will speak to you later. Bye.